What's up, everybody? What's up, everybody? It's your main man, Juggernaut of
Arkatech Beatz.
multi-platinum producers, Arkatech Beatz. We're on the music production and beat making live stream daily, 9 p.m. It's your main man, Juggernaut. Again, if you don't know who we are Arkatech Beatz. We are a multi-platinum production team. Shout out to my partner, Mike Trauma D. Special birthday shout out to Mike Trauma D. Today is his birthday. Shout out to my partner on that. Also, birthday shout out to my daughter. It's so crazy how my production partner and my daughter have the exact same birthday. It's wild. Also, another big shout out today is the 27th anniversary of Big Pun's Capital Punishment. It was released today, April 28th of 1998. 27 years ago, the record changed my life. That's my first record, me and my partner's first record, first platinum record, first production, first everything as getting into the music business. So if it's your first time here, make sure you're following, make sure you're liking the live. Every night we get together, we basically are going to make some beats tonight. We're going to produce some records tonight. And, that's what we do every night. And I answer questions about the music business and all those other good stuff. Mr. Mendoza, Jorge, how are you, man? Shout out to you for joining into the live. So, look, I got some samples tonight. We're going to try to get this thing started. And we're going to try to see what we got going on today. Ready? Let's go. It's about like 81, give or take. Like it's going to be a 4-bar loop. I'm going to name this track The Sample, and we're going to lay that part down. Shout out to Keish in the building. Let's go. Cut off a little bit at the beginning so it loops clean. We'll go to the next track. We're going to lay down a hat on this one. velocity change on the hi-hats. Watch how we trigger. 1, 2. Shout out Prince Johnson. Gonna lay that down. Open hat on here. Ready? Let's go. Go lay the snare down. One, two, three, let's go. This is your first time here in my live. Now is the time when you connect to a Bluetooth speaker or take your phone into your car. But you gotta listen to it loud. Keish. Big Toho, let's go. Shout out to you all. Right now we're working on the limited licensing. I've been talking to the chat about this for the last few weeks that we've been going live. We are going to start offering limited licensing, and it will have special pricing. We're probably only doing maybe one, maybe my bad, maybe like 2 to 5 licenses for a track. So once the licensing is done and it's over with. What's up, fam? So we're just trying to do something very limited, something very controlled. We want to be very selective about who we're working with. Our resume, consists of, like I said, like Big Pun, Nas, Prodigy, and Mobb Deep, Jadakiss, The Game, Killer Mike, Freddie Gibbs, Saha the Prince, Meek Mill, that type of thing. So, again, we want to be very selective about who we're working with. Today is Big Pun's Capital Punishment's 27th anniversary. Triple platinum album, man. You know what I mean? That when that album came out, I was a young guy, and I was working in a Fortune 500 company in '98. As a up and coming whiz kid from the Bronx. I had got my first corporate job off the street, and I was going to work at Timberland's. And my cousin I had a studio in the Bronx. I created a studio in the Bronx, and my cousin had just got out of the Institute of Audio Research with a certificate in audio engineering. And then we wind up getting an internship at Loud Records at the time. And he developed a relationship with Big Pun. And every week we used to get together and we used to make these mixtapes. And we used to call them bash music. We used to call them bash music. But my cousin used to get all the tapes from all the other producers like No ID and Rockwall. I used to get all the tapes, and we used to listen to the tapes and be like, man, we got to get our music together. We got to get our music to sound like these guys' music. So, we started getting the tapes together. He started playing tapes for like Havoc from Mobb Deep and started playing stuff for these guys. And then the guys was like, yo, your stuff is tight. So, he presented it to Pun. Pun was like, yo, I want this record. And we went to do this record and wound up laying this record. It took us a few times to lay it down, and I'll get into that story later on in the live. But it took us a few times to get that record. And then once we got that record laid down, the album came out. The album immediately was a hit. Went, did the million copies, and we never really looked back, So, been in the game ever since. And, shout out to him. Rest in peace to Big Pun, man. So, let's get back into these beats. Let's go. Shout out to everybody that's in the live. Shout out to everybody that's liking the live. Shout out to Kim Thomas. Somebody said my partner looks like Raekwon. Yo, let me tell you the joke. The joke behind that, when folks say he used to look like, they say Mike D used to look like Raekwon, they used to call him Little Raekwon. And that was part of the reason in the office where our Raekwon gravitated to us, was because he looked like Raekwon. So then when we started playing music for Raekwon and Power, they was like, yo, your joint is hard. Let's go. Pause, but he started saying your music is dope. So then that's how we started rocking with Raekwon. And then the first time I came to Atlanta, no cap, I came with Raekwon. I was with the Wu-Tang and them guys. These guys, we was in here. We was out here recording his album for months. And then the first time I went on the West Coast was with Raekwon. You know what I mean? He took me all over the country. You know what I'm saying? So at that time, I had to quit my job. We had just finished the Pun album. The Pun album went platinum. And I was like, man, they was like, yo, they called us up like, yo, we're going to get on the road. I'm like, go on the road to do what? Say, we're going to go record this album. We're going to be out for weeks. I was like, all right, I quit the job. You know what I'm saying? We was gone, and that was it. And then from Raekwon, we met Nas. And then we had already developed a relationship with Prodigy. So, we was already in the building. We got our production deal. And, we just started building these records, man. And the one thing about this hip-hop thing is that it can change your life. And it can put you in a situation where people don't really understand. And for a long time, I didn't understand it. I didn't really like the public scrutiny that came with being in the music business. So I always tried to, be normal. Do normal things and try to, be in the private sector and just do things normal and don't really talk about the music stuff, because it just kind of felt like a lot of pressure around it, But then after a while, you start to realize that you really can't run from who you are and what you do. You know what I mean? It's God's gift. We're cemented in hip hop history. We've done so much. So it is what it is. So we're gonna keep it moving. Let's go. And for everybody that's trying to get into this thing, one, it's never too late. That's the first thing. That's the one thing I love about this internet now. So one, it's not too late. Two, you just want to be consistent. Three, you want to get with good people that you can learn from. I never had that. I didn't have that for people we can learn from. We had to learn everything on our own. I started my first corporations when I was 19, and I was dealing with the labels and all this type of stuff. So I had gotten a lot of experience in a lot of things very quickly. So a lot of times when I was dealing with a lot of people, they didn't really understand, how I knew this or how I was able to navigate like this and these type of things, was because I was exposed to it so young. And I was able to kind of navigate these buildings, and I knew how to handle corporate folks and how to do brand deals and these things like that, because I was doing it for such a long time, So, after time, you start to kind of learn things. So, we here. I want to try to teach everybody that want to learn. We're trying to do this music production. If you're into the music business, these are the books that I recommend. Make sure y'all copy those. It's going to be at arkatechbeatz.com. I'm going to put the link on the screen. Make sure y'all copy. Make sure you see what it is. We're going to go into this beat. I'm going to try to tie this beat up a little bit, maybe get a little bit more. This will add a little more elements into it. I think we could add a bass line to it. But sometimes it's hard to hear the bass that I want to hear in my headphones. So I want to listen to them on my speakers, but I can't listen to that without the feedback into the microphone, so it makes things a little bit, janky. But we'll do the best we can. We're going to make it work. Shout out to everybody that's following the live. Ashton, man, we're getting more people that's coming back every night, man. And if you got questions about the music business like we did yesterday, I think people asked really good questions about sample clearance and where to get royalty-free samples and what's the process. People asked really good questions last night, and we were able to answer those questions. So if you got questions about the music industry, how to get into the music industry, how to do brand, like this is the time to ask. Leave those questions into the chat, man, and we're gonna definitely try to do what we can to answer those questions. Shout out Kim Thomas. Shout out Keith on there. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for sharing the live. Timber. Make sure y'all sharing the live. So how we did this beat, right? We're gonna break down how we did it. We start off with this sample. On the first sequence, I made it loop not to. And I made it loop right here. And I'm gonna use this for our main verse. And then I'll use the second part when we're getting ready to lead into the hook. Right? So now we're gonna go to the next track, which is gonna be our hats, and nothing too intricate. It's basically on a 1/8 kind of a timing, and then we're alternating the velocity. So we're going from one volume to the next volume, right? So we do a 16 levels on the MPC. When we do 16 levels, what it does is you can see it does a velocity situation. So what you have to do is first you pick your sound. Hold on before we go on 16 levels. So this was our sound. Now you pick the 16 levels on the MPC, and then what the MPC does, once you press OK, it'll trigger it. So if you notice, as we go down, the volume decreases. And how I triggered it, I use this pad and this pad to kind of, this is higher, this is a little bit lower, and we triggered it just like that, right? Nothing too intricate, but it helps to give this kind of syncopation that kind of keeps the beat moving and kind of keep you inside of the groove. Calvin, what's up, brother? All right. Then we got an open hat. So Keith says, what's the difference between separating the drums to different tracks? I separate the drums to different tracks because it gives me control over the track mute. So I'll show you another parameter in the MPC. The MPC has a pad mute and it has a track mute, right? So I like to use a track mute. Some guys like to use a pad mute, right? And for me, because I don't put everything in the same bank, I change my banks separately. So the way that I do my banks is in bank 1, I put all my kicks. In bank B, all my snares. In bank C, right, it's all my hi-hats and percussion, and then D is my samples and then sound effects, right? So depending on how you want to program your situation, if I had a kit where I had all of my drums and everything on 1/16 pads, then I could put everything on one track because then I can use the track mute, right? And then also I come from the era where we had to separate all of our tracks, right? Because in order to lay it down, we had to lay everything down track by track, old school style. So that's kind of just the way that I was raised in doing it. You don't necessarily have to do it that way. If you're a person that wants to have all of the drums in one pad set, and you're able to finger drum it and lay it down, you could do it that way too. It all depends on the way that you like doing it, and also you want to make sure that you just have the control. So when you want to mute something, then you know where to mute it. And that's part of the issue why I separate it, so I can see when we're going to sequence it, I can mute it easy, like take my hat out. All right. Shout out to Calvin. But that's why I separate mine. That's why I separate my stuff. It just kind of gives me a little bit more control. And then also what I don't like too, and I can't speak for everybody, but when I go into the arrangement, I don't want to see all of this different, MIDI notes for different things, because now you're trying to figure out what's what. So now I can just go right into this track, and if I want to move something, I can see it, I can move it easy. You know what I mean? So just for me, it just makes it a little bit easier to kind of do it that way. But again, it all depends on what you're trying to do. If you're a finger drummer, then you might want to have everything on the same, in the same bank, on the same track. And it just all depends on what your skill set is and what you're trying to accomplish on it. But we still get to the finish line. So the way I want to try to show people is how to get to the finish line easy. Learn that basic of just laying it track by track, so you get your timing down, so you kind of know what to do, and then you can also try to try different things in different ways. I hope that helps. Again, I'm taking questions in the chat while we're making beats tonight, man. We're 30 minutes in. Let's go. Shout out to the new followers. Shout out to everybody in the live. Shout out to the folks on YouTube. Shout out to the folks that's on Facebook. Shout out to the folks that's on Twitch, TikTok. We're streaming on all platforms at the same time. I see a bunch of people using the 404. I see it. You know, I see a bunch of people using it. You know what I'm saying? I think it's cool. You know what I mean? Again, whatever's easiest for you. You know, whatever's easiest for people to kind of do it. You know what I'm saying? The way that I do it is, you know, it's man. I don't know if you can get any easier. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really easy. It's just, you know, trying to pay attention to the way you know, program your stuff. Like I said, we're here every night at 9 p.m., man. We showing people the process. And then we're going to the second sequence, right? The second sequence plays the whole 4 bars out. I hope I'm helping, man. I'm hoping that you're seeing something that making sense to you, hoping that it's clicking, you know. Like I said, we're trying to help people and, you know, learn this thing, and we're gonna get folks in this group, and we're gonna get folks where we gotta go. How did you do the bass line? I didn't do the bass line. The bass line is part of the sample. There's two ways. There's a few ways we can go about getting the bass line. Let me just name this joint. I call it night piano or piano nights. I don't know, night piano nights, whatever. Just gotta save your beats. You don't know if it's gonna crash, power gonna go out, whatever. It's nothing worse than losing the beat. Yeah, there's a few ways that you can get bass lines out of this thing, you know. So the old school way of getting bass lines out of samples would be to take that, go into the envelopes, pick a filter, and then low pass filter it, of course. And then you can go a little bit further. You can go a little bit further, and we could either normalize the sample to make it louder, or we can go back in, add some more EQ for the low end to make it even more loud. But we have to be careful of not muddying it up, right? Because we don't want the low end to get muddy. And then if you're really nice, then you will go into your you pick your bass sounds. Hold on 1 second. You would go into your bass sounds, and then you would play along, right? Now, if you're nice like that, and then what happens is you just kind of pick you find your notes, and the MPC does something that's very good that I think that I like. That has this thing called chromatic, and what happens with the chromatic is that it kind of keeps your plug-in instrument in tune with your main stuff, so everything kind of stays in tune. So you don't have to search for like the tune of the bass to match the pitch of the sample. They kind of stay rudimentally in the same range. And then if you're really nice with it, you can start to play your joint that way. Man, you said S950. Whoa, brother. Listen, you're taking them back. But that's one way to get the bass line. And then what we would do is we would take this sample again, put it on another pad, high pass that one and play them together, and then pull it out, put it in, pull it out like that, pause. But you know what I'm getting at. And it's your responsibility to kind of try out each of these samples. This thing is like an experiment. You have to realize that making music is an experimentation. It's not like a cookie cutter thing. I think that's really what ruined us with the trap era, because the trap era has specific ways to do specific things, and the hi-hat has to do this, the snare has to do this, and the 808 has to do this. And then if it doesn't do this, then it doesn't fit the description of trap music. And that's what kind of create this thing where everything sounded the same. And then everybody started using the exact same sounds, the exact same patterns. It's like, come on, man. Like we gotta do something different. Shout out Jay Steele. Shout out Born Ready. I see you. Appreciate you. Shout out to everybody that's joining into the live. I'm gonna try to jump into another beat. We'll be about half an hour in. Try to jump into one more joint before we get out of here. But I want to answer any questions. If people got questions in the chat, ask any question that you want to answer. I'll answer any questions that you ask. Ask me anything. You know, this is the game of the music business. Like I said, making sure that you're understanding what's happening in music production. Just ask the questions and I'll try to answer them for you. Let's see what else I got in here as far as samples is concerned. There was this loop that I had here, a drum loop, and I think I wanted to start showing guys, for people who may not be really good with the whole drumming thing, like you can also make tracks using drum loops and blending samples together, kind of like a DJ. You just got to be real smart about it and what you're putting together and manipulating it a little bit, but. And then sometimes you can have a drum loop where it has some individual sounds that are good. Like this has a really good snare in it. You hear that? That's like a really heavy snare. So, what I would do with this is I would chop it. All right, we were going to the sample edit. First, I'm going to process it. I'm going to make it, I'm going to normalize it. to see if I can get it a little bit louder. And when you normalize the sample, it kind of helps to, just create a little bit more fidelity to make sounds that aren't that loud a little bit more louder. And then we're going to go into chop. We're going to go into trim, chop, and I'm going to use I might use threshold, or I might use regions. If I use regions, what regions is going to do? Regions is going to cut it into 16 even parts. That's just what it does. If I go threshold tends to go based off of the wave. So depending on the wave of the sample, it will determine the chop there automatically in the system, right? So I'm going to try to go with regions on this one. And if you notice what region does, right? My kick is separated. My hi-hat is separated. My snare is separated. So if I want to make pretty simple. Then I'm going to hold down the shift button. I'm going to convert it into a new drum track. I'm going to do non-destructive. I'm going to keep the slices. And what it's going to do is going to put it into a new track for me. See what it did? It did a new track, and it has the name of the sample, but it's broken out on that. Do I do sound design? Yes and no. Sound design is a different type of game. We do take our sounds and we do try to manipulate our sounds to make them what it needs to be. Shout out to Zach Tyson. What's happening with you? Shout out to Lewis. What's happening with you? See this snare? See how that snare sounds? That's a tough snare, right? Something like this, you would probably take and put it into your existing kit. You see how that works? So this is how people are getting their sounds, This is a good hat too, and it's clean. So, once you can get a chop that's clean, you can always take that and you can make your new drum track. You don't have to use what they did. You can just use the sounds, but you can do something different. Now, if I wanted to go in now, add some more effects, some EQ, and then I make the sound my own. If I want to pitch it, I make the sound my own. So that's part of the thing that we like to do here. So let's find the sample that I had in here that I was playing with. Let's see if I can find the sample. It's another sample that I had. Do I compress any sounds if I need to? I come from the era where everything needed to be compressed and everything needed to be this and everything needed to be that until it didn't. Everything needed to be compressed, everything needed to be this, and everything needed to be panned until it didn't. This era of music doesn't really require that much. If I'm being completely transparent, it doesn't require what it used to require. The main thing that I probably tell folks to do is just to pick the right sounds. If you find a sound that you have to compress and EQ and limit and do this and do that, then it probably wasn't the right sound to begin with. We're trying to make it into something that it isn't. So right now we have access to so many different sound libraries. The time that you would take to do that, you can actually go and find the sounds that actually are fitting what you hear sonically, because there's just so many out there. You know what I mean? And it'll give you a better starting point versus trying to take a sound and trying to make it into something that may or may not be attainable, if that makes sense. So let's see here. This sounds like a high pass filter. It's gonna be a 4-bar loop for sure. Like the sample is saying 70 BPMs. Let's lay it down and then we're gonna go from there. The low end theory for Q-Tip and them was all about that 808 sound. Remember, these guys were taking that low end sound because they were rocking with Ron Hightower and those guys, and was trying to really, perfect the 808 in music, and kind of make that into something, a new low end instrument that used to kind of go crazy. I think I already got a bass line. Alright. Let's get the rest of the beat in. We know what we're going to do with this bass line because it doesn't have any low end. We're going to have to create it. And if you listen to the sample, you can kind of hear the hi-hat in there. So your job is let's bring those sounds out first and then embellish. It's all there. You just got to listen for it. And if you're trying to get the sample to kind of fall, if you want your sounds to fall where the sample sounds is falling, if you see the timing is off, sometimes what I like to do is I like to adjust the start time of the sample, and that helps to move things either on or off the grid, right? Or to help change the timing however that your ears might hear it, right? hear a shaker. I'm gonna put that in. Yo, shout out to everybody that's in the live that's just watching the process. We watching the process. We watching it go. Let's go. Open hat. Let's go. I'm gonna bring the velocity down. How many years on this machine? I have not had this machine for a year. But that's not really a good representation. I've had a MPC 2000 since 2000 and an MPC XL since 2000. So 25 years cumulatively. But then I had like Digital Performer before that and the ASR 10 before that, and I've been doing this thing since '96. This one's gonna be a nice banger. Head out to Smooth. Welcome to the club. Welcome to the club, man. We're here every night at 9 p.m., man. We're showing people how to use the MPC. I'm building the beats from the beginning. That sample's pretty, though. This ain't got no low end. But we're going to fix that. That's a monster. Let's go. Man, let's try it again. So, people ask me about this all the time. What button am I holding down? I'm holding down the note repeat button. So the note repeat button is what you can repeat, and it'll keep it on the grid, on the timing. So I like to use the note repeat because I know that if I have the note repeat button, if I trigger it a certain way, it's going to stay on the grid the way I want it to stay on the grid. Heartburn. Shout out to my daughter in that damn Olive Garden. That joint killing me right now. Thought I had an extra sound in here. Hold on. I think I gotta find it. Not there. Hold on. We're gonna there's another sound that I had. And I downloaded the sound. Not sure if I needed it. I'll take that. Hold on, let's make sure we get this where we want it to be. Where's my sample at? My sample is queued to key F minor. So, you know, you gotta kind of know where the key of your stuff is at, so when you add in sounds, you'll know where to tune it to. And that's like a flute sound. Quite go. The system detects the key for me. Listen, man, this what makes this MPC so beautiful, because the old MPCs never detected no keys, man. He said lower the tune. Let me try lowering the tune. Let me try it again. Maybe I can go fine. I don't. Sometimes it just don't work. Cause it already got that sprinkle in it. Let's get the yeah, it don't need it. Like I said, it's an experiment. We trying to make a gumbo here, you know, we try to put that season in it. Just make sure you don't put too much in there, you know what I'm saying? Mess up the whole mix, you know what I mean? that bass line down. Let's go. Where I need it. Just kind of want it right under the drum. We want to name the track. Shout out to everybody that's in the live, man. We building the tracks tonight. Listen, if you got any questions, man, hit it in the live. So yeah, man, you'll produce a banger before 2030, bro. Just stick with the program. You guys got to get your equipment. Once you get what you got to get, you be on here real easy. I want to find a sound. go. We're gonna bring this down into the mix a little bit. Shout out to Major. Yo, shout out everybody that's in the live, man. It's a Monday night, man. Make sure we sharing the live. Yo, I wasn't sure about this sample. Remember when we started? I was like, yo, I don't got no low end. I'm like, I heard the potential in it, but I'm like, man, it's real thin. So then we got to build on it. So that's what we've been doing. So we put bass line in it. You know, I think we can add a few more sounds. I ain't gonna hold you. I think I could put maybe a lower end piano on it. I think I could throw some strings on it, and it's gonna go. So let's try it and let's see where it goes. What time is it? We about an hour and 15 in. So listen, I'm gonna add a piano on this. I mean, people gonna be like, well, add a piano where? Watch and learn. All right. And listen, this is the one thing that I love about this MPC-X is the plugins, the sounds. Oh my gosh, the sounds. Like I do not have to, like, if for those who remember the days of having to have all of these rack mount sound modules that I'd have to now plug into the joint, MIDI it up, and every time I had to do a song, I had to remember the volume setting and the tune of the individual units. Oh my God. So Two Major said he would have got to this point and couldn't think of anything else. Listen, sometimes less is more. I'm just trying this stuff out because we're in a live, and you know, I want to basically push a little bit of the boundary, right? And listen, the only thing we're doing right now is we're doing what I call like accenting, you know. It's not something that we're right. I've already programmed the bass line. Alright, you see what I just did? So I basically just took what I did in the bass line and put it into a piano at a lower octave. So now what we're going to do, I'm not going to replay it. I'm just going to go copy it. I'm not going to replay the whole thing. I'm just going to go back to, you see how we did that? We're just finding sounds to accent what we're doing, man. We've already laid out the groundwork. The groundwork is there. We've already done the bass line. So it doesn't make sense for us to sit here and try to, you know, reinvent the piano line. You can if you're into that, but you know, we're here to work efficiently, you know, so this is the game that we're here to do. You know, less is more in some cases. I'm not trying to take a lazy approach, but at the same time, why complicate it? Right? Doesn't make sense to complicate it. All right, so what I've done is I selected all of the sounds. I've copied it. I'm going to go back to the other sequence. I'm going to go back to that sound. I'm going to click on the arrangement. I'm going to bring myself all the way back to the grid. to the beginning of the grid, and I'm gonna paste my stuff. And see what it just did. It just did something real funky. I don't hate when it does that. Let's see if I can do it again. Hold on. Oh, there it goes. All right. Now what I might do, I'm gonna bring it down one more octave. Yeah. I'm definitely gonna bring it down one more octave. So I'm gonna select it, I'm gonna press transpose, and I'm gonna bring it down. Alright. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go back and I'm going to paste what I had originally. So now we're playing 2 octaves. Listen to what we got now. Come on. You hear that? You want to bring it down into the mix a little bit? Can I put a 1-shot in the piano roll? Yeah. You could trigger the 1-shots in the piano roll. It doesn't, I'm just doing a plug-in right now, but you can put in 1-shots in there. If you have a 1-shot sample, you can always program it in piano mode. If that's what you like to do, you can definitely, you can trigger and program in piano roll if you need to. Like, that's an FL Studio thing, man. But, you got to get your hands dirty, man. You know what I'm saying? Trucking beats, man. You gotta get your hands dirty, man. You got to get in the pads. All right? Shout out for joining the live, man. We here every night, 9 p.m., man. Multi-platinum producers. Shout out to my partner, Mike Trauma D. Today's his birthday. Oh, I turned it down too low. I can't even hear it. I'm like, what happened to my piano? Or happy G-Day to my cousin. For people who don't know, that Mike D is my cousin. That's my blood cousin. That's my father's brother's son. That's why we have the same last name. We look the same. More sound. One more sound, man. I gotta do it. share the live. It's gone. Let's go. It's gone. Shout out to Andy Mack and them at a car, man. You know, they I can't front, but yo, like the sounds have been whoever's doing the sounds. I'm getting partnered with Native Instruments. I really think they're gonna take over. Yeah, like, listen, I've always wanted the hardware with the VSTs, right? And for people who have been in the FL Studio and have been using like all those other things, Serato and all those things, Ableton, you want the VSTs in the hardware. You don't want to have to keep going to the computer to do everything. Like, you don't want to do that. You just want to be able to do your joint. And what's gonna make it even more dope, is if you can just export your MP3 and just send it straight to your Wi-Fi on the box. You'd be great. So let's listen to this beat, man. We built this beat out now. This one has been a little bit more intricate. Not just really just the loop. You know, we had to put a bass line in it. We had to put a piano line in it. We had to put a string line in it because the sample didn't have any low end. So we had to build around the sample to give it a little bit more body, to make it have some things that differentiate from the rest of the record. Shout out Smooth, man. That was sound complete, right? Where's Ross when we need him? W, I see you. Add a little EQ to the snare. I want it to be a little bit more beefy. Pause. Sounding crazy right now. We trying to make it this sound a little bit. I want it to kind of be. This is a smooth beat, but I want the drums to be real heavy. You know what I mean? So when you're driving, it feels like it's really bumping in the rod, and then with that low end can rattle your trunk. You know what I mean? And ain't nothing better than the beat that just, you get like you get some of those records that have like those beats, man, that you just keep on repeat when you're driving. Y'all know what I'm talking about. And like you want to kind of replicate that type of feel where, man, they just gotta keep playing your joint on repeat. You know what I'm saying? Like it gotta feel like it's hypnotizing. You know what I'm saying? Like it gotta have replay value, man. That's like when you think about it like this, like people still talking about Shook Ones 30 years later. You dig? Like once you got a record that just is lit, like they're gonna talk about it forever, man. It don't go nowhere, man. You know what I'm saying? So the music that you could play that was 10 years ago, like I could go with my kids to the roller rink, and they still playing songs from the 90s, bro. Like they ain't supposed to be doing that. They're supposed to have their own wave, but because these songs, whether it be a Faith Evans record and they got a roller skate feel, like if these records are timeless, they're timeless. It is what it is, And as a producer, what you're trying to do is trying to make something that's futuristic. So yeah, classics never die, man. To think that people are still playing Capital Punishment today. People are still discovering Big Pun, Capital Punishment. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's our first production. That's our first record. That's our first time laying down a beat in the studio. And we had to do it 3 times. Like, every time I went to go lay down the beat, I had the samples on floppy disk. Not trying to tell my age, but I had the samples on floppy disk. I made 3 copies in triplicate in case something would happen, and they had an ASR rack mount. But it ran so hot every time I put the disc in, it corrupted my disc, so I couldn't lay the beat down. So when we finally got the right ASR, so that was the first time I went to the studio. Couldn't get it done. Second time I went to the studio. We got the beat laid down, but we didn't separate the drums. We didn't separate the drums. Capital Punishment is our record. That's the record that we produced. That's our first record, our first platinum record, our first platinum song, right? On that album, which is Grammy nominated album for Best Rap Album, 1998. So boom. We lay down the beat, and Pun goes to drop, like the snare drop. I'll never forget this shit. Pun goes to drop the snare in the beat, and the whole beat goes out. He goes, "Oh, it's a loop." And I look at Mike, and I'm like, "Fuck!" Like shit. Like we gotta go back to the lab, separate the drums. And we wasn't even using NPCs back then. We had the ASR. We did have that. And I was using a small Macintosh computer. Cool, you see Cool and Dre talk about this as a Macintosh computer. And we were using the same thing they were using Digital Performer. And we had to reprogram the drums in there. And then what I had to do was I laid the drums to an ADAT. So if you guys remember that, the ADAT used to be a digital 8-track recorder that used to use the VCR tapes. Oh my God. It was a clean sound, but I wasn't taking any chances with the drums and everything on no damn floppy disk, and I would have had to take my computer to the studio. So I put all the tracks on the ADATs. Told them to rent the ADATs. We laid the beat down at another studio. This is the third time now. Pun comes in, gets a chair, goes inside, turns off the lights, lays out the verse, and then Prospect comes in, and then it's all good. Rest in peace, Big Pun. After we did the mix, he said, yo, can you bring the copy to my house? He wrote his address on there. He signed the paper, and I went to his crib to go bring him that mix. And prior to what was on that record, we used to have a snippet of Boys in the Hood. And we have it on our YouTube page. That's the original Capital Punishment that had a part of the skit where Furious was talking to the kids about gentrification. And that was part of the original record. But they couldn't clear it because, Universal or some weird shit. But we put it on our YouTube page. You can listen to it there. Two major, yes, we do. But it's limited. Nah, I don't like that. Well, you said sequence to be all the way. When you mean like breaking it up in terms of sample, like intro, verse, hook, like that. And I'm talking to King of One So. Oh, you want me to arrange it? So check it out. We can do that. Hold on a second.
Arkatech Beatz.
All right, so let me get the tag in, and then we're going to go into the arrangement. Damn, I missed the cue. Let's try it again. I missed it. Shout out to everybody that's in the live. Shout out to everybody that shared the live, that liked the live.
Arkatech Beatz.
Alright, so So now that I've laid my tag and everything into that sequence, I'm going to name this sequence the hook. This is my hook. The hook now has every element that we had, right? So King of Oneself asked me to arrange this now into a song mode, right? So I'm gonna make a series of sequences where we're going to arrange this beat into a song, right? So the first part of how we do it is we make sure that all of our sounds for our hook is in. So you have the bass, you got the sample, you got the drums, you got the strings, you got the piano, you got everything. So everything is playing in the hook. So we know that is the hook, right? Now my producer tag is going to be in the first hook of the sequence. So that's I'm making two different sequences for that. So it's going to be hook 1 and then hook 2. So let's name this hook with the tag, because that got my tag in it, and that only needs to play one time. It doesn't need to keep playing over and over again. Now I'm going to copy this to another sequence, and we're gonna just name this as the regular hook, no tag, right? So there's no tag in this one. Or no, this is basically this is the hook. This is the hook, regular, right? We're gonna do that. Cool. Now we're going to make one more copy again, and we're going to turn this one into the verse. All right. So far what we got is we got the hook with the intro, the hook with the tag, the hook with no tag, and then I have the verse. I have to do one more verse, but I'm going to show y'all how we do that one more verse. So this verse, what we're going to do is we're going to mute some sounds. So I'm going to go into the track mute, and we're going to take out the stuff that's not in the hook. So we're going to take out the strings, and I'm going to take out that fall, right? Because that really needs to be only in our hook.
Arkatech Beatz.
Right, so each thing is 8 bars, right? So our hook is 8 bars, our verse is 8 bars, our intro is 8 bars, right? Now I'm going to copy this verse into a second verse, right? This is going to be verse number 2. But the difference between this verse and verse number 1 is we're going to go back in here, we're going to cut it in half. So that's going to be only 4 bars, right? So our first part of the verse is 8 bars. Our second part of the verse is 4 bars. No one does 16 bars anymore, people. No more 16 bars. I'm looking into the camera and I'm saying that. No more 16 bars. 12 bars is the limit because people just don't have the attention span for more than that, right? Now I'm going to go back into the track mute, and I'm going to drop the bass line, and I'm probably just going to leave the piano in, right? Okay, right? So we're going to take out the bass line. And I'm gonna take out the bass line and I'm gonna add the strings in. Hold on. For the last 4 bars. Actually I'm gonna take out the piano and the bass line, and I'm gonna leave the strings in for that second part of the verse, and then I'm going to do a snare drop. Now the way that we do the snare drop is we're gonna go into the snare track, and we can do it one of two ways. We can actually go into the arrangement, and we can delete the last two notes. And the way that we can do that, is we could select it and just and cut them out, right, by pressing Shift and delete, or we can do it old school way and just record over it. Right? Old school way is record over it. And that's it. That's the old school way. Just record over it, right? Record over the last two notes. All right. So that's done, right? So now we got all of our pieces together, right? So we got our verse that's gonna do this, right? This is our first part of the verse, and we're gonna test it out, going to the second part of the verse, so we know what it sounds like. Listen, I need y'all to like this live, man. Let's really get this likes going on this live. Can we share the live? Can we get people into the live? We giving this the ultimate session right now. We got to get people into this thing. We here every night at 9 p.m. You know what I'm saying? Come on, let's go. Where the super chats at? Y'all playing? Let's go. Y'all ready?
Arkatech Beatz.
Hold on, my MPC going crazy right now. Hold on. Okay, that just went wild just now. Let me save it because I don't want to do something stupid. Okay, here we go. Let me go back into the track mute. I'm gonna mute my tag. My tag needs to be muted. Okay, I need to go into my regular hook, and my tag needs to be muted in there too as well. Okay. All right, so here we go. So this is what we're gonna do. I'm gonna just show y'all what we did, and we're gonna play it the way we need to play it. Ready? Which is this. We're gonna go from the verse into the mini verse, and then go back into the hook so you can hear how it sounds. Ready? Right? Then we're gonna go back into the hook. Here come the snare drop. Now you know it's missing one more sound. It's missing the guitar. We need to get that guitar that goes, that goes all the way down. I have a sound somewhere. I gotta find it, but y'all know what I'm talking about. You say I'm the East Coast Dr. Dre. I wish. I wish. Dr. Dre, man. I wish. Shout out to him. But don't get me wrong, man. We nice. And when I tell people that we nice, people be like, "What you mean we nice?" We listen. Think about it. Shorty Low, Waka Flocka, Lil Scrappy, Nas, Raekwon, Jadakiss. Who got the range? I'll wait. Show me a producer that got those type of range. We'll wait. What we should call this, man? Where's Kim Thomas? Is she still in the? Is she still in the live? Cause she dropped the most diamonds in here. I'll let her name the beat, man. Real talk. She dropped the most roses in this thing. So I want to name this beat. So we're gonna start building this together. We're gonna insert the first hook with the tag, right? So that you can basically see what's going on with this, right? We're gonna go to the next one, which is gonna be, we're gonna go straight to the verse, first part of the verse. Then we're gonna go to verse part 2. Then we're gonna go back to the regular hook. Then we're gonna go back to the verse, go back to the second part of the verse, go back to the hook, and then back to the verse, and the beat is over. I'm a shout out to Born Ready. I'm gonna name it some Ghostface type, The Captivation. Let's go.
Arkatech Beatz.
You hear that? King, you see how we did that, King? One thing I'm gonna change in here. Yeah, it's well balanced. It got a good balance to it. Like it's listen. When you got one of those ones, you know. Like you will know. Like you'll know when you got one of those ones. So what I'm gonna do here in this bass line is I'm gonna for that breakdown, I want the last 2 notes of the bass line to come in when the snare drops. So, I'm gonna give you an example of how that should sound. I'm gonna take these notes here. I'm gonna cut these out. Bronx, New York. That's it. It's me in the building. Let's go. You ready? Listen to it. You see how we did that? So now let's put it all back together again. Let's go back into the into song mode again. This is it right there, boy. Okay. Shout out to everybody that's in the live, man. Like we just built one. Like we built this one. Shout out to everybody that's in the live. We built this one for real, for real. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna say this project as the captivation. Listen, we're here every night at 9 p.m., man. I'm doing my best. I ain't gonna hold you. I was tired of shit. And I was like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna make it tonight. And I'm like, man, I'm tired of shit. But I'm like, boy. It's my daughter's birthday, and it was my D's birthday, and then had a bunch of calls with the lawyers and stuff today, you know. Got a whole bunch of things going on. So just trying to work some things out. You know. Go to my kid's school and cupcakes and all that other type of shit. You know what I mean? It's crazy. Appreciate that, big brother. I got a 10-year-old. It's crazy. Yo, can everybody in the chat drop what they're using to make music on? If you're an artist, I know you may not be using that. He said, wait till she turn 18. Listen, I'm not rushing that. I need to wait. I ain't rushing that. I am not rushing that. I'm not rushing. I'm taking my time right now. It's amazing. MPC 1. What else everybody else using? MPC 1. MPC X, yeah. Listen, Raisin and Fruity Loops. Listen, I'm gonna probably start. I have to figure out when I want to do the FL stuff, because look, I'm not gonna proclaim to be an FL expert, but I can get a track done. I can tell you that. But I can get the tracks done. I got a bunch of records that I did in there. You know what I mean? What else? All right, DJ Guru will say he got the MPC X. Listen, we're here every night, man, at 9 p.m. I'm not sure what people are trying to learn. You know, hit it in the chat. Tell me what they want to learn. But as much as I want people to learn to make the music production, I want people to learn this music business. You know what I'm saying? Because, this music business, boy, it's treacherous, and you know I want people not to be taken advantage of, and I think in the producer community is a lot of being taken advantage of. So I want to see if we can get that to change. So who was here for the first beat, man? So let's go to the first beat. Yo, if I didn't know any better, I would say that that's the sample from that Pusha T Kanye West record Crack, right? Is it just me? Is it slow down, or am I tripping? That's what it sounds like to me. You know what I'm saying? That's interesting if it is. Oh yeah, it is a sample without the voice. Hey, look, man. Pusha T is on that list for me right now. I got a bunch of artists that I want to work with in the next few years, and he's on that list. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to use this community. I'm going to use this online platform to basically make that happen. Right? Like, I need to make that happen. We have some people that are loosely connected to him. So, we're going to try to see how that works itself out. But this is the beat number 1. Like I said, we're here every night. And let's go to the other one, which is the song mode. Let's go into song mode. And let's listen to that, which is called The Captivation. DJ Well Blended. DJ Well Blended, welcome to the live. Shout out Big Brother Thunder. Oh yeah. Shout out I Am Raw. Rodney Tubbs. Born Ready.
Arkatech Beatz.
Put a killer mix on this tomorrow. I would need it to get a little bit faster for Nas. If it's Nas, I think it would have to be. Right now it's at 71. Gibbs I can hear at this tempo. Nas, I might have to play with the tempo a little bit, just to see. Just to see if it does what I think it can do. This is 72. It was at 71. Not for nothing, like like this would be like late '90s Nas. You know what I'm saying? Like late '90s Nas. Like I can understand when people say that. You know, he just doesn't rhyme at this tempo anymore. You know, I miss that Nas, man. I tell you, boy. Those sessions. Let me tell you something. Those sessions with Nas were eye opening. Like I ain't gonna even hold you. Like that was eye opening. Like going into the sessions with Nas, and this is old school. And for people who know from New York, this is like the old school Hit Factory, old school going in and Right Track, going to those studios back in the day, and sitting with homie and seeing him do what he do. Like that's how I knew like there's really levels to this shit. Like there's levels. Like there's guys that are nice, and then there's those stratosphere type guys. You know, it's just different levels to this shit. So, you know, shout out to him. Let me see if I could play this one more time. I need to do one more thing here too. In the bass line, for the second part of the bass line, and what we're doing now is I'm just trying to take this velocity down on this note here. So if I don't know if you guys know like how you have a bass line that carries over. You have a bass line that carries over into a different sequence, and sometimes the trail of the bass carries over from one sequence to the next. The way that I try to get rid of that is I would trigger a bass note in a very, very high octave and turn the velocity all the way down. So it'll just cancel it out. So I just gave y'all another trick. Ready? Let's see if it works. Shout out to Big Brother Thunder, man. Appreciate you. CK Colony to buy this. On Amazon. Shout out Jason Tyree. Let's play it from the top. What do I think is better, the Akai or Native Instruments machine? Listen, you know the answer to that. You know who the granddaddy of this thing is, and you know who the copycats are. Shout out to Native Instruments, man. But you know, and I know you can't really mess with the Akai, bro. And you know, if I had the time, I could walk out the studio right now and go into my other room, into my closet, and I could pull out my machine and I could show it to you. Like, I haven't used it in almost 10 years. And that's even before I bought this. I wasn't even using this. I was using Serato, and I was using FL Studio, and a tinge of Ableton here and there. But the issue that I had with Machine, and I'll just be honest with you, I bought the first iteration of Machine, and then I was using it, and what I didn't like is that it didn't have good time stretch. It didn't have that. It didn't have a good warping ability to, like how when I change the BPMs, that it'll change the sample speed and stuff like that. It wasn't good with that. So I was mad about that. I'm like, FL Studio got it. All these other platforms got it, and they didn't have it. So, but still in all, I was still looking to buy a Machine Studio at the time. And then I wound up getting this Mac computer. This is a while back, so this Mac computer's old. But I wound up getting that Mac computer, and then my machine wouldn't work with it. It was working with my laptop, but it wouldn't work with it wasn't working with, once it upgraded to a certain level, the drivers wouldn't work. So it's like, it became, it's not, I can't even use it as a controller, so that's why, it's a Kai all day right now. This beat is called The Captivation. Shout out to everybody that's hit me with those roses in the live, that share the live.
Arkatech Beatz.
Make sure y'all sharing the live, man.
Arkatech Beatz. Shout out to everybody that's in the live.
Shout out to everybody that's sharing the live. We're on here every night, 9 p.m. Standalone mode, man. Did I hear that? Does anybody hear Max B on this? Shout out to everybody that's in the live, man. Shout out to everybody that shared the live. Shout out to everybody that gave their gifts tonight, shared the live, liked the live, that followed. Shout out to all those people. He's getting a buzz from this, man. He must be drinking. Shout out to Leon. Okay. Everybody saying Nas. Oh. I'm surprised nobody said Ross. Would be so ill. That'd be ill, man. That'd be ill. And I don't got a record with Ross either, which is weird. But you know, I should, but I don't. But I should. But you know, we'll see what happens. Does anybody have any questions in the chat before we get out of here? I've been on for 2 hours and 15 minutes. We're on every night at 9 p.m. We're making tracks. We're showing music production. Some people asked for me to arrange this in the full song mode. We did that tonight. We broke down how we arrange these beats. All right, that's how I arrange the beats. It's not just about making the beats; it's also about arranging them properly, so that when you're putting together your beat packs, that they're put in the right way, so that you're able to kind of make an impact when you're going to try to get your music sold. I am Rob. We're here for that, man. Like, listen, it's never too late to start. The internet changes everything. The internet makes it so that it's never too late to start anything. If you know how to do something, the internet is what's going to make you do what you got to do. Other than Jay-Z, Jay-Z is one of those I like to work with. Believe it or not, I like Ye. I would love to work with somebody like Ye. As crazy as it's been. Pause. Drake, we have some unofficial remixes with Drake, but we don't have anything official. So I want to do something like with Drake. It would be dope. in our career, we've always been able to work with the top tier of the artists. So if you think about it, like we've been able to do like Prodigy, Mobb Deep, that's a top tier artist. Nas is a top tier artist. Raekwon is a top tier artist. Jadakiss is a top tier artist, right? Meek Mill is a top tier artist. Like, so I've always been able to work with those artists, Killer Mike and these guys, at some points in their career, So I definitely would like to get with some more top tier artists. If not for my eras, I like the new era guys too. Don't get me wrong. Some of the new guys are great. Some of the Griselda cats too. I like those guys as well. Westside Gun I like a lot. Benny the Butcher I like a lot. Yeah, Benny the Butcher would sound pretty good on this. Does anybody else have any questions, any music business questions? Because I know like a lot of guys, they're asked questions about the MPC and about, making the beats. But any music business related questions, I don't see anybody talking about any publishing. I don't see anybody talking about any copyrights. I don't see anybody talking about production companies. I don't see anybody talking about LLCs. These things are important, people. I don't see people talking about split sheets. These things are important. They're just as important as making the music. Because you can make the music and they'll rob you blind. They will rob you blind, and and they'll do it, and they'll just say it's just a clerical error. But if you don't know, you don't know. On that note, you said you were an intern at a studio. You made mad beats. What happened? Yo, shout out Coach J. That's my homie. Damn, Smoke. Listen, man, you can be in it for the music and you can still get paid, man. You know what I'm saying? And I want people to be clear on that, man. And if people want to clip this part up of the live and share it, I would appreciate that. But listen, you can be in it for the music. I see some guys talking about, hey, I'm not in it for the money. I'm in it for the music. And listen, it sounds good. It does. When you're young, it sounds good. But when you get older, and you will get older, and and you don't want to do certain things, like you want to have flexibility in your life. You know what I'm saying? The thing about this music business is that the music that I did 25 years ago still pay me. You know what I'm saying? And whatever I decided to do, if I wanted to go back to work, if I wanted to do whatever, I could do those things without any pressure. You know what I'm saying? There was no pressure for me to do anything. I could just do it. You know what I'm saying? And I was able to maintain whatever lifestyle I wanted to maintain. You know what I'm saying? So, the thing here is just to make sure that you're not getting taken advantage of. And, I want to make sure that the people that are joining me in my lives are really getting that type of education, not just musically, but also, with this business stuff, I have a lot of instances where, people take music, they take the music and they put it out and they may or may not want to pay, but because I have the right protections in place, you can take it, but you can't go far. You know what I'm saying? You can take it, you can put it out, you can start running up the numbers, But when we come knocking and we say, hey, thank you for running up the numbers, where's our share? They got to give it up. And that's part of the game. The game is, yeah, you can take it. Yeah, go ahead, take it. But we've set up ourselves in a way where we're protected. So whoever wants to run up, go ahead, go run up the bag. But if you don't come back to us the way we want you to come back to us, we could take some of it or we could take it all, right? So this is the power that you have as a producer with your music if you do it the right way. Got to do it the right way. We got to talk about registrations of songs. We got to talk about copyrights. We got to talk about those things. We got to talk about setting up your publishing companies the right way. We got to talk about registering your songs across multiple platforms. We got to talk about the publishing administration. We got to talk about that. We got to talk about the process of collecting your money. We got to talk about which companies you could trust to collect your money. You know, we have to talk about those things. We have to talk about the games that get played with, you know, contracts and language and, you know, things that shouldn't be in contracts, you know, things like that, you know. But, you know, that's for another live at another time because we're going on 2.5 hours. I'm getting ready to jump off of here because, you know, I'm an active dad. I got to be taking the kids to school in the morning and all the good stuff. So I want to thank everybody that been in the live. I want to thank everybody that's been sending the gifts. Shout out to everybody that's been showing up every night. Yo, Zach, I see you. Born Ready, I see you. Smooth, I see you. You know what I'm saying? PW, I see you. You know, people showing up every night in this joint. The kids making beats, here they starting. Both of them got FL Studio on their laptops. So, you know, I let them play around with it. And then, you know, my daughter's showing a little bit more interest than my son, but my son is just 8, so, you know, give him a chance. I'm not really trying to, you know, push him into this music business. Can you take a sample down a couple of semitones and be safe? Nope. And we talked about this last night. You cannot do anything with samples. There's no sample manipulation that you can use that make you safe. They don't make you safe. You might be able to get away with it for a little while. But think about this, right? I don't know if you ever seen that video where the guys break down how Havoc for Mobb Deep took that little note took those notes for Shook Ones and slowed it down. The internet will blow you up. And then when the internet blows you up and the internet says, hey, this is how they did it, and folks they're gonna come for their money. You know, like you can't. There's no sampling without clearances. You could take the risk. You know, but you know, just know that it can always come back to haunt you, and there's really no limitation on it. They can decide to come whenever they want to and say, hey, this is not authorized, and they can hit you in the head. And typically, what labels do is they make you sign, when you do your producer contract, you sign an indemnity clause, which will basically tell you that if there are samples in here that you did not disclose, the label won't be responsible for any damages. You will be. So they protect themselves from, you know, us slowing down and chopping samples and that sort of thing. I hope that answers your question, but there is no chopping or cutting down to make things safe. You would have to really take samples and alter them, right? Meaning, like, you'd have to not only take the sample, slow it down a few semitones, maybe chop it, maybe truncate it, maybe play it backwards, and it has to get to the point where it's almost unrecognizable. If you can do that, then you might get away with it. But that's not something that I'm recommending, and this is not legal advice. Sample at your own risk. I don't do that anymore. I go sample free. I go royalty free. That's what I do now. That's what we both do, me and Mike D. That's what we do now. We do royalty free. We don't look at that anymore. We've had too many instances where great records that never got released because of samples. If you play it over, you still have to pay the publisher because the publisher still owns the underlying composition, right? So let's say, for example, whatever the music is, the music sheet, whatever the music is, if it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, if that's what the music is, if you don't sample the recording, if you replay it, you still have to pay that publisher for that. So what's your favorite place to get sample melodies? You could do TrackLib, you could do Splice, you could do Semantics, you know what I'm saying? There's samples everywhere, bro. You just Google it. You can Google royalty free Loop Cloud. Shout out to them. We were working with a subsidiary of Loop Cloud. It was called Cloud Bounce. We were ambassadors for them. They were an online mastering platform for almost 10 years. And guess what? They just sold it to FL Studio. You used to go to the website, you see our faces on it, and then they sell it to FL Studio. How about that? Yep. Wow. When they first started, they were basically an online mastering company that was basically using Ethereum. They were trying to do they were an Ethereum-based company, crypto. Yeah, we try to get in early with these folks, man. We get in early. Like, that's what me and Mike do. We also identify the talent, but I'm also identifying the technology. You know what I'm saying? I was, rocking with some of these AI companies that were doing like the AI video editing and stuff like that. It was another one called Video AI, company out of India. It's just different things. You have to be aware of what's happening. Song Trust was one of the other companies that we worked with in the beginning. Lethal Audio, a bunch of them. You have to be aware. And then once you build up your brand to a certain level, then you can reach out, and then you can start to kind of build brand partnerships with different brands. But also you need to be versed, right? So there's things that you have to educate yourself on. You have to educate yourself on the technology, on the language, so that when you go there, you can talk the language, and these folks don't talk circles around you. Yeah, Suno was crazy, but Suno was going to be on the outskirts until the record labels could find a way to copyright that content, because right now the copyright office will not take copyrights that are AI generated. So things that are AI generated, it has to have human input, or else they won't be able to copyright them. But once they figure that out, it's over. The record labels will use apps like Suno to replace recording artists. Yeah, it's crazy, but that's what it is. You know what I mean? Shout out to everybody that's in the live. How do you know if something you create is original? If you create it, it's original, right? If I go into my thing here, and hold on here, let me see. That's original. So can you really make money off one that doesn't even exist? I'm sure a lot of you guys seen Sinners this weekend or last weekend. Listen, man, the powers that be will find a way to make money off of everything. If they could charge you to breathe, they would. Trust me. Now, think about it, dude. All right, bro. I see you. But I'm about to sign off myself. We'll be back here at 9 o'clock tomorrow. Make sure y'all checking us out. You know what I'm saying? Checking me out. Another birthday shout out to my partner, Mike Trompety. We're going to ride out on this one. We're going to ride out on this beat when we're leaving. Let's go. Hey, the Get Fresh Foundation hit me up on the DMs, brother.